everyone. Gerry Dulac along with Brian Batko. We are in Maynooth, Ireland. That's the weekend home for the Steelers as they prepare for Sunday's game against the Minnesota Vikings. Your Steeler Report brought to you by Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci Mesothelioma and Asbestos Lawyers with 85 years of experience. Go to sdklaw.com. And Brian, the Steelers are staying here at the Carton House. They arrived this morning. They were out on the practice field, and they're getting ready for the game. But this facility here is really incredible. It dates back to the 1700s. It was a private residence for years for a lot of lords and dukes, and now it's housing the big football players.
Yeah, it is remarkable. We're not in Dublin anymore, Jerry,
No,
and that's
right.
kind of the funny thing about talking to some of the players. You know, you try to get their first impressions, but it's a whirlwind for them right now. Off the plane, right to here, probably had to go through customs just like regular people. And one of them told me, I forget who it was, but he said he got a nap in. I'm like, how did you take a nap? It must have been the quickest power nap of all time. But then they were out there on the field, and they're going to have a little bit of free time to explore, but some of them are pretty locked in. And I think it's much like us out here. It's almost easy to forget that there's a game still to be played on Sunday because there's so much else going on.
Yeah, and what's funny too, Brian, is of course all the Steeler fans are basically in town. They might be spread out a little bit. Most of them are downtown. We're 45 minutes away from downtown, and the Steeler players, one, they don't have enough time, but they're too far away really to go into Dublin, and so they're out here, but they have everything they need here. The practice, they have 2 football fields. They've taken up all 169 rooms. For those who might want to sneak out back and play a little golf, they actually can do it. I don't think too many are going to do that during game week. But everything is right here, and they've just taken over this facility, and the people here obviously glad to have an NFL football team, especially the Steelers, as their hotel guests.
Yeah, I think some are going to try to venture out. Now, it might be a pretty condensed trip. They won't be like the Yinzers who are going noon to midnight on a bar stool. But I think some want to see the sights because it's the mindset of when's the next time I'm going to be here. But again, you got to get back. You got to get some sleep. You got to lock in for the game. And they've got a good Vikings team coming up. They did get some good news today. It looked like, during the kind of individual portion of practice that we're allowed to talk about at the beginning, Deshaun Elliott was out there again. He was listed as a limited participant the first couple days, but I think he's trending in the right direction, Jerry.
Yeah, and I don't think Joey Porter Jr. is going to play. He has a hamstring injury, Brian, and those are such tenuous injuries. They want to make sure that he is healthy because it's so easy to aggravate those, and I don't expect them to play. So the Steelers arrived today. They follow the same travel schedule as they did in 2013 when they played in London against the Vikings. They arrived on a Friday morning, and some of the players after that game complained of a little jet lag, tired legs. But, there was some confusion, and maybe I created some of it. But the league has told me that it is up to the teams to decide when they want to come. Now, sometimes they make that decision based on the hotel they want to stay at. Is it available? Are the practice fields where they are they available? And so when we talked to Art Rooney the second today after practice, he said it was a football decision to come when they did, which means it's Mike Tomlin's decision. He said, we're in the middle of a season. Yeah, I would have liked to have brought the guys over early. He said, but that's not the case, and that's why they came when they came.
Well, I mean, you're always there on the south side for practice. You think about the sheer amount of infrastructure that's needed for a football team in a given week between meetings and film review, nutrition, weight room. I mean, it is tough to just up and move everything across the Atlantic Ocean over to another country. Now, some teams have found ways to do that. The Ravens went out on a Monday a few years ago, and actually, they put it to the Tennessee Titans in that game who went out late. But you never know. It's kind of like the preseason rest versus rust debate. You never know if that's why a team had success in these international games. It's just another data point to look at and another storyline for us to talk about and write about.
I talked to Patrick Queen after practice because he played in that game, and he was telling me that they went over on Monday. They did a light walkthrough, and they had Tuesday off to go visit the town, sightsee, do whatever they wanted. And I said, did that matter, or does this short period of time affect you? He goes, that's a personal thing. He said, it's all in your mind. He said, with him, he said, it doesn't bother him. He says, now other players, maybe it does. But he doesn't think that the shorter amount of time being in town will affect them. Of course, they're all going to find out on Sunday whether, in fact, that it does or doesn't. And to your point about all the things they had to do, Brian, because of the differences, you can't get Gatorade here. You can't get the bottled water that they're accustomed to. They ship tons and tons of Gatorade and water by boat in July, and that stayed in storage until September, and they brought it over, obviously, for this game, but other things. Heinz ketchup, salsa, hot sauce, whatever the case may be, all their favorite condiments, because they want them to have all the things they use at home. They don't want to make it too different for them, even though this place is.
And you think about the massive undertaking that is for the Steelers to be here for a few days. Think about the Vikings, who are going to be in Ireland and then London after that. So they've got really a 2-week trip, which they've condensed, I guess, to a little bit more than a week because they came out on the same travel schedule, at least for arrival. So yeah, I mean, that's always the logistical hurdle with these NFL games, but obviously they're great for expansion. I think they're going to be a lot of fun, very memorable for the players. And for the Steelers, though, Jerry, and this was another big kind of talking point today, I think there's an added layer of pressure to do this for the Rooney family. And every player we talked to mentioned how Art Rooney II, the team president, came and talked to the team about what this game means for the family, how long it is in the making. Personally, yes, you want to win every game, especially when you're 2-1 and you're playing a good team. But there's a little more to this than your average Week 4 game against an NFC opponent.
Yeah, we talked to Art Rooney II after practice, along with a lot of the Irish media, and he talked about what the game and being here meant to him and his father, the late Dan Rooney, the U.S. ambassador to Ireland, and even going all the way back to his grandfather, the chief. And yeah, it is a special time for them to have the first ever regular season game in Ireland. And he said if the Steelers weren't the ones involved, then he'd been a little disappointed.
Yeah, and we heard from his son, Dan Rooney, as well, who was instrumental in pulling all this off with the logistics. And obviously he's very excited for it too, and he hopes that this week's going to go well, and maybe we'll see the Steelers over here again. Maybe they could do it Week 1 and they can have a little bit more of a lead up to it, but these coaches and players are creatures of habit regardless of when the game would be.
A lot of former Steelers are here. Ben Roethlisberger's here, Marquise Pouncey, Mark Bruner, Brett Kiesel, Jerome Bettis is here, so they're going to have a big old gang here for the game. It's a 9:30 Eastern time start on Sunday, the Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. We're enjoying being here in Ireland. This facility in Maynooth, Ireland, about 45 minutes from downtown Dublin, is really spectacular. For Brian Batko, I'm Gerry Dulac. You're watching PostGazette.com.